Hello and welcome to Troubleshooting Windows After Startup, Chapter 14. Alright, we're going to explore some of the concepts and describe some Windows tools used to solve problems with Windows applications and hardware. Try to troubleshoot, slow startup, slow performance, application errors and crashes, how to remove software when the application fails to uninstall, and then just troubleshoot hardware problems in Windows. So we're going to first cover how Windows works, how it's structured, some of the tools we can use for solving problems. And so first off, you have the Windows shell and the Windows kernel. So the shell is more the user mode. It's what we constantly interact with. It's the user and the applications, File Explorer, Windows Desktop, and then you have the Windows kernel underneath, known as the core of the OS. Has two main components: our HAL, our hardware abstraction layer, which abstracts the hardware. Windows and software can use the hardware no matter what different types of hardware are underneath. And then executive services, operates between the user mode, subsystems, and the HAL. So it allows the users to use the hardware. And here's just a graphic showing the Windows shell up here and its subsystems, right? And then the kernel with its services, its executive services, which is overarching on the hardware abstraction layer, and then the hardware underneath. So users have a user profile, and it's stored in this ntuser.dat file. It's a hidden file stored in the users folder, and it's the in C:users, and then the name of the user, whatever the name of the user is. And like I said, it's a hidden folder or file. So if we go in here and go to C users and then the user here, you'll see it's not there. But if we go to here and we show our hidden items, then we should see right down here is the ntuser.dat file, right? So this is the user's profile that's all stored. So again, you go to the users folder and then the name of the user, and you go to view and just make sure that hidden items is shown. Let's see, then you got program files, which are stored in C program files for 64-bit, and then C program files x86 for 32-bit programs. And we learned earlier in chapter 15, the registry is located in our C Windows System32 config folder. The backup of the registry, if you have one, is in the system config folder regback. Fonts live in the C Windows fonts folder. You have temporary files in the Windows temp folder, and offline files. If you're using offline files working with a network, they would be stored in the CSC folder. So this is like if you have a laptop and you dock into work, and you when you undock and take it home, you want to work on the files offline, so it takes the network copies offline and stores them in the CSC folder so you can use them at home while you're not attached to the company's network. That's where the files are located. A process is a program that is running under the authority of the shell together with system resources assigned to it. So it's just a program that's running. And it will make a request for resources to the Win32 subsystem, and this request is known as a thread, and it can have single thread or multi-threading processes. So a thread is a single task, such as printing a file, processing a request from the kernel, Sometimes you'll hear a process called an instance. A process with more than one thread is called multi-threading. Let's see here. If I go to our task manager, so we'll look at the processes tab, and you'll see all the processes that are running. So right here, Google has 18 instances or processes running, and each one is doing a certain task, or I might have different tabs open and things like that. But Google is really notorious for having a lot of processes or threads. All right. And here's just an example of Word, right? When Word, you can open a file, that could be a thread, or print a job, could be another thread, and it goes to the Windows 32 subsystem, which then interacts with the kernel. And then if it's opening a file, it goes and accesses the hard drive. If it's printing the file, it goes to the printer. So when the user is available and you're trying to troubleshoot, you want to interview the user, make sure you back up their data, ask the user to reproduce the problem while you watch, try a reboot, see if that restores or fixes the solution, or fixes the problem. So we have all kinds of logs that may be useful. You use the event viewer to access these logs. Event viewer, just type in EV, get event viewer, and then it pulls up, and then you've got all these logs: application, security, setup, system. It takes a long time for them to load, but once they load, you can look at them and see certain errors. Some of them don't mean anything, some of them do. So you'll have to go through and look up the errors and see what they mean. Okay. Right, so you have a troubleshooting applet and device manager. So you can check the device manager and see if there's a device that is having an issue. Device manager. All right, so you open up the device manager, you check and see, are there any exclamation points or red X's or something, right? So trying to see what, if anything, is not working or not loaded correctly. Everything's loaded correctly and working on mine right now, so can't show you what that looks like. You can ask for help, search for error messages on the web. You can add Cite Microsoft to the end of any search text to search Microsoft websites. Look in forums and see if people posted the problems. Let's see here. Here's the troubleshooting applet, right? Yeah. So troubleshoot. Other problems, right? So troubleshoot, internet connections, find fixes, right? So there's all kinds of troubleshooting that you can do. You can open up control panel, and then let's see here. Device drivers, right? You can do all that, or you can go back here and view large icons, and then you can go to troubleshooting, and so you can run programs made by previous versions, hardware, sound, troubleshoot audio recordings, fix problems with Windows Update, run maintenance tasks, all these, from the troubleshooting. And just go to control panel. Control panel items troubleshooting. So if we go to the home, once again, I did change from category view to large icon view and then went to troubleshooting. That's the easiest way to get there. You can go into the category view as well, but so it may be data's corrupt. You might want to check your application setting and logs for errors. Try to repair the application, uninstall and reinstall the application. So add or remove programs. So actually, what is that? Uninstall. I want to think here. Program. I'm still trying to think. Uninstall. Alright, so just go to control panel. That's probably the easiest. And then uninstall a program. And then you can right click on a program and uninstall it, or sometimes you can, let's see, Office. You can change or repair a program. You might want to scan your system for malware, so getting some up-to-date anti-malware software. Memory, run the memory diagnostics tool. And boot up from Windows Setup Media. You can do that and run the memory check. Check for corrupt hard drive using the check disk. Searches for bad sectors to make sure it's a disk drive, not a solid state drive. Check event viewer again for warnings. Low on system resources, you can lost task manager. You can do it with Control-Alt-Delete, Control plus Shift plus Escape, Windows plus X, or just right click on the toolbar and go to task manager and bring it up. And so you can see what's going on. You can look at the performance. You can see history. You can do startups, so you can stop anything from starting up. Just highlight it and disable it, or right click on it and disable it. You can go to this file location easily to find out what it is. And you can see what users are on there if it's a server. You can go to the details tab and see all the processes running. You can end the process, set the priorities, open the file location. Services are services that are started and stopped. You can sort them by what's running, what's stopped. So you can start and stop services from here. So we went over that. Incompatible applications with third-party services. So doing a clean boot. So going to the task manager, like I showed you, and then disabling startup applications. That allows for a clean boot. So Windows system files may be missing or corrupt, so run the sfcs/scan now. Can repair Windows files, and if that doesn't work, then you can use dsym commands, but try the sfc, the system file checker, first. If not, then you can run one of these dsym commands to scan the health, check the health, or restore the health. But one of the things with dsym is you can point to a source of an install WIM, so maybe a DVD or USB. You can tell what WIM and which system files to check against. And then you could always boot into safe mode. That provides the most minimum configuration to start Windows, and then should be a stable environment, and then try to figure out what's actually corrupt by adding things one at a time to see where the issue happens. You can do a system restore. Just remember that any changes made between the restore points will be changed, and it won't fix a completely corrupted registry, so there's some things it won't fix. This is just showing that. So, first you need to know how fast should it normally go. This is things you need to do before you have problems. So using a stopwatch time the normal startup, and when we press, then you check it after, and when you think you're having startup problems, you do the same thing, and then if there's a difference, then you got to figure out what's causing the difference. Always make sure you have a backup of everything before you apply any fixes or try to troubleshoot things, because you don't want to lose data. Always try to stay up to date on your routine maintenance. Uninstall software you don't need. Always install and verify critical Windows settings. So you used to be able to go to msconfig to figure out startup items, but that's been moved now to the task manager, the start area. So if you do a msconfig, there's limited things you can do with this. This used to be the go-to tool, and you could change it to safe boot or whatever. You can start and stop services here and indicate which ones start up. This used to be where you could manage applications that started up. This is the services that start up. These are just applications that start up. But that's been moved to the task manager, to the startup tab. So it's the same thing. Not sure why they decided to move locations, but they did. And then there's some tools that you can launch from msconfig. So it is still a very useful tool. It's just not as useful as it used to be, because everything used to be here and you could work with it in one tool. Now you got to use Task Manager and this tool to do all the troubleshooting. So not exactly sure why they moved it, but they did. Let's see, right. Sometimes malware can hide in scheduled tasks, so check your scheduled tasks, and then search the tasks to find those you think are unnecessary. Task, just type task, right? Task manager. Task scheduler. Right, so I don't have any tasks, but if I did, they would be here, right? I can create a task, and whatever. But if they were here, you would just try and find out if you had any tasks that were running or set, and because malware looks to hide there. Alright, you may also improve performance by moving the virtual memory file, the page file.sys, uses the same way to enhance the amount of RAM in the system. So you try to move it to another volume on the same hard drive or to a different hard drive. That can help. Let's see here. Windows page file sys I'm showing hidden files. So it's been a while since I've done it. I could have swore it was right there in Windows, but maybe it's not. But let's just go. Let's go to properties. And system settings, performance, advanced, virtual memory page, file C. Okay, so maybe it's just on the C drive. So C, let's see, I don't see it. So, property, advanced system settings, advanced, changed, system manage. That's very odd. It doesn't look like you can move it. Selected drive. You used to be able to manage that as to what drive it was on. I'm not seeing that. Anyway, if you can move it to another drive, that's ideal. Task list, task kill. So you know, if you got something right, so here, so I'm going to show that. So if you go to DOS prompt, type notepad. All right, so notepad starts. Then you do a task list, and it runs, and then here at the end it shows that notepad is running on 19,096. So I can do a task kill /F/PID:19096, and then you'll see this window, right? So notepad is open right now, but I just killed it, and so it kills the application. So you can go through your task list, and if you see something that you don't know or whatever, you can try and kill it. You can do that in Task Manager as well. You can bring up the Task Manager, and you can highlight a process, and you can end the task. It does the same thing. Right, so you go to details about it. You can set priorities. Get mixed results with this, but it tends, in my observation, tends to cause more problems than it solves. But so you can go in here and say, go to details on Chrome, and then you could go, when you're in there, you can set the priority. So right now it's above normal priority, but you can set it to real time or high, and then it'll get higher priority than most running applications. But be very careful, because if you give an application or a certain service or whatever higher than normal, you could actually cause more problems than you solve, because it's going to have higher process or priority on the processor. It may solve the problem, but like I said, it probably causes more problems than it solves. So you might want to check and see what the priority level of certain applications are. If a service fails to start, right, so then you make sure it has automatic or manual settings. right click the service, try to start it. So you can do this in the services, right, app. So you can find the service, right? So this one is automatic. This is a manual, so it starts when needed. The automatic starts when the computer starts up, when the Windows starts up. The status shows the ones that are running. So if it weren't running, right, you could come in here and you could try to start it or restart it. And then if it errored out and it's not running and it's set to automatic, there should be an event viewer log as to why it didn't start. You should see a log file for these. But you can come in here on services, just type in services and open up the service application, and you can manage your services from there. File extension and file associations. So so that doc files open up with Word, XLS files open up with Excel. So you can see, if a file fails to open, make sure that the association with the file is correct. So see here, properties, right? And it says, so you right click on the file, go to properties, opens with PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint, but I could change that file association with it. The other thing is options, but yeah, so you can right click on a file and change its association with whatever file. Many, if not most, applications have DLL or dynamic link libraries, or small components that hold snippets of code that they leverage. And if you get an error message about missing a DLL, then you want to reinstall the application or recover it from backup, because basically what it's saying is it's missing some of its code. DLLs are a way of creating reusable code that an application needs, and if it's missing or corrupt, then the application will not function correctly. Some applications have components, or use the component services, and you may need to register the components with Windows to allow them to interoperate between the main program and a component. It's a security risk, so they need to be registered. So component services. All right. So got a computer, we got some COM objects. So here's one COM object, and it's got some interfaces, some subscriptions, there's nothing in there. System applications, so here's the catalog server. It's got some interfaces. So alright, so we've got some interfaces and some methods in here. We might even we don't have any subscribers to that one. We may not have one with subscribers, but yeah, but we've got some that have some interfaces, which are, like I said, some code snippets that are usable, and so other applications are able to use these because they're registered COM objects. And So I can do a new application, right, and it'll walk you through create an input application or a pre-built application. But it's a little too much to cover what COM objects are from here in this class. Okay, the application has never worked or stops working after OS has been upgraded. Update Windows and search the web. Run the installation program or application as an administrator because it may just need to be reinstalled. And consider whether the older application is having compatibility problems with the new version of Windows, and verify if the application is digitally signed. So yeah, that may be an issue. Most software now is digitally signed, but some of the older software is not, and so that you may have problems when you upgrade Windows. So then you could try to run it as an administrator, see if there's a security reason why it won't start. Check digital signatures, right? So ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. Maybe it's connecting to a database or a data source. And the ODBC is a generic driver to connect to databases, and they must be installed on the local computer in order to use the data source. Let's see here, ODBC data sources, right? So Excel files use this data source, and Microsoft Access databases use this data driver, this, right? So once again, it's a little too much to go into database drivers, but just to say you can add drivers that you need, like SQL Server or whatever, or Oracle, to certain databases, servers and things like that, or databases that may be required for an application. But you would do the ODBC data source admin. Just once again, type in search ODBC to get there. And this is just showing that you need the ODBC to connect to a database server. You could have a database locally and still need it, because you could run a database server software on your local computer. Some applications do that, and you still might need an ODBC driver to connect to it. All right. Normally you use the program features windows to uninstall an application. Some uninstall routines get corrupt and you need to manually uninstall an application, so you would need to know how to use the Windows registry. Once again, it's regedit.exe, and then once you're in regedit, right, need to be admin. So in this case, instead of the system where we were doing for services startup, we'd be in software, and you're looking for the software, and you want to delete the items that are set up with that. So like, if I were trying to get rid of Python, right, I could get rid of these, and I might have to search the database though, to really clean it. I might do a find and do Python, and then search the registry, and then I might want to delete everything. This is the file association, right? So the Python file, it's a .py. That's okay. So I do F3, F3, right? And so I can do an F3 and just keep going through. And then I can look and see, do I need to delete this? Do I need to keep it? What exactly is this doing? And so, like you said, you have to really know what you're doing. But before you do any deleting, you would want to come in here and back up these, export these or back them up so that you have them, so that you can restore them easily. Right, registry is tree-like structure, contains configurations for Windows users, software applications. Registry is built into memory at startup. 5 files used to build the registry are the SAM, which is the Security Accounts Manager. This is the file that you know, if you can get into boot into Windows, you can edit this and change the account password if you have access to the machine. You have the security registry, the software registry, system registry, and the default registry, well, or hives as they call them. Right, you got 5 areas: the local machine, current config, classes, roots, users, and current user. Right, before you edit the registry, back it up. And you can back up and edit and restore individual keys. And, you know, if you're just going to adjust a key, it's very easy to do that. Yeah, just right click, you know, highlight it, right click, hit export. That backs up a single key or registry entry. All right. First, try the uninstall it using the uninstall, you know, the Windows programming features. Delete the program. You know, how the program files or program files x86. Delete the regserv folder and all its contents. Delete registry entries, remove program shortcuts, remove startup processes from the task manager of that, right? So you got to go through and just manually delete everything. And remove it from the list. You know, all right, you can click displays in the setting window if you're having display problems. Do resolutions, refresh rates, display adapter properties. You know, you can configure multiple displays. You can drag the monitors boxes so they represent the position of the monitors. I don't have 2 monitors on this one, or I'd show you. You can go. You can use the DX diag to troubleshoot diagnose DirectX. Print management. You've got print management in the console or admin tools. You can use it to monitor and manage print queues. Each computer on the network shares a printer, is considered a print server. So if you have a locally attached printer and you share it with others, then you're technically a print server. Right, so with limited connectivity, right, you can verify your network cables between the computer and router. Try to connect to a different port on the router. Go to device manager and update device drivers. Verifies computers getting a unique IP address from the router. You know, you can try and release and renew. See if you're getting an IP address. Resetting the modem and router. Check for malware. If you have a laptop, is the wireless switch turned on? Right. Sometimes it's easy to turn the wireless off and disable the wireless network adapter on some laptops. Disconnect and try to reconnect to the wireless network. If you have MAC address filtering, is the computer's MAC address allowed on the network? Or if you're too far from the wireless access point, the signal's too weak. Right, try and ping certain websites. Try to do a trace route. And that is our chapter for troubleshooting after Windows startup, chapter 14.